My task today is to assemble a model that was sent to me in different pieces from different designers. So let's begin by looking at the MEP services. These files were created using AutoCAD MEP from Autodesk. If I look at the details of the files, I can see it's about 23 megabytes of information. And I'm going to start the open process. Now when I actually opened all 8 files in one click. Now this isn't just opening the DWG files, which in and of itself is significant. There was no save down needed to a Navisworks type of file. There was no export needed. Simply read the DWG natively. In addition to pulling the geometry in from all 8 files, Navisworks is also able to actually determine the Z location for each one of those floor plans. So if you notice, we have like a ground floor pipework drawing, we have a ground floor ductwork drawing, we also have a second floor ductwork drawing. So all of these files exist in some Z location relative to each other, and that information is actually stored in the DWGs. Navisworks is able to actually go out and read that information, so it's not able to just pull it in, but actually assemble the model according to its elevation. Now, if you consider this process and contrast it with the process we might normally do, where we might have to assemble these manually, moving them amongst their Z location. Maybe there's some exporting or saving down that's required to communicate between 2 different firms. We were able to do it in about a minute with 8 different files and 23 megabytes of information. And I think what's really impressive is once I have the model assembled, it's not only assembled accurately, but I have incredible ability and performance to kind of spin the model around, to look at it from different perspectives, to examine it from a top or bottom or side. I can even zoom into a specific area and use a tool like Flythrough to actually navigate through the model as if it was a video game. All of this is pretty impressive technology. But in and of itself is not enough. We need to actually be able to pull other models in. So in this case, let's actually pull in the structure now. Instead of opening though, I'm going to use append. Append is simply add to. And if I go to the structure model that was sent to me by a structural designer, I'll see that it's a DGN file format, a MicroStation based file. So I'm going to start the open process with this, and you can see that it actually comes in pretty quickly. Single files, don't take very long at all as compared to 8 files. But now I still have the same performance. I'm able to orbit and examine this model from many different perspectives. But think about the power that I've just done. I've combined 8 DWG files and 1 DGN file in a single unified model, and I'm now able to look at the design more completely. A task without Navisworks like this could take hours. Let's finally bring in the architecture. Now as I look at the architecture, notice that it's an RVT or a Revit file format. And Revit's one of the more popular tools for architects to use in design today. If you look at all the different file types that Navisworks is able to read natively, we certainly have the DWG, which we've seen. We have Navisworks native files. We have MicroStation DGN files. We even have things like SketchUp files. But the one piece we are missing would be right in here, and that's Revit. Navisworks does not read Revit natively. So we're going to need a little help. Fortunately, there's a plugin available from Autodesk that you can actually have inside of Revit that allows you to export one of those Navisworks native files. So here I am in the Navisworks exporter. I'm going to leave the file name as it is, and I'm going to save this file. It goes through the process of actually exporting the file for me, placing it in the location I wanted. Now back inside of Navisworks Manage, I can add the architectural NWC file to my design. An important note here though is look at the compression ratio we have. Inside of Revit Architecture, that model was around 8 megabytes. The same amount of information, same amount of data, what came across to Navisworks, and it's going to be less than 1/3 of a megabyte. Significant file size reduction. That'll be really important later. So now we have the architectural model, the structural model, and the MEP model all in one single file type. So let's zoom out here a little bit, and we could certainly go around the process of investigating, and in other chapters we'll learn at some of the different tools we have now that we have this assembled. But let's assume that we need to share this combined model now with our team. Well, the easiest way to do that is to publish the model. By publishing a model, I'm actually going to be sending this out as one compressed file. So if you look, I can include information such as maybe the version of the file, who created it, and so forth. I am now going to place this out on my server in the Publish Models directory, and we're going to call this Meadowgate version 1. Now remember, we had about 23 megabytes of data from the MEP, about 3 from the structure, and about 8 from the architect. So roughly around 30 to 32 megabytes of information. When I go look at that published file, look at the size that it's able to compress down to. Less than 2 megabytes. So we went from a file that was really large to a single file that was small enough to be actually sent an email. And if I open it up in Navisworks Freedom, the free viewer available from Autodesk, I can actually now do a lot of the same viewing tools that I had inside of Navisworks Manage. I'm able to view, I'm able to section this, I'm able to do a lot of investigation, all inside of a free viewer viewing one of these published files from Navisworks Manage.